It's on.
It is on?
Yeah.
Wow. When I used to be very, 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 very young, so this is decades ago, there used to be a computer called Uptron, I think. And there was advertisement. It says, if it's on, it's Uptron, which meant that, it never goes down. So let me also check over here whether I can see it's in. I do that. Do indeed see it. So I can close all this. And so we will get started now with our class for today. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us here. And we will start with this short prayer to the spiritual master, without which nothing is possible. Om Ajnanatimarandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Okay, so we will get started with verse number 4 from the 5th chapter of Bhgavad-gita, 4th chapter of Bhgavad-gita, verse number 5. I got the numbers exchanged there. And let me know that you're able to see my screen. Can you? Yes or no?
No.
No? Okay, what is there? Okay. Okay. Is it working now?
Yes.
All right. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Bahuni me vyatitani Janmani tava Arjuna Tanyaham Veda Sarvani Natam Veta Parantapa. So this is Shri Bhagavan Vacha, and Shri Bhagavan is responding to Arjuna's query from the previous verse, which we read last week, and where he was asking that, Arjuna was saying that Surya Devta is so much senior than you by age, so how come you explain the Bhagavad Gita to him and now you are explaining it to me? You belong more to the modern world where I am. So now Krishna is responding and he's saying, Bahuni me vyatitani janmani tava Arjuna, tava charjuna, tane aham veda sarvani natam veta parantapa. Synonyms, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. So now we all know by now, Uvacha. See, the personality of Godhead said, Bahuni is many, me of mine, Vyatitani have passed, Janmani births, Tava of yours, Cha and also Arjuna, O Arjun, Tani those, Aham I, Veda do know, Sarvani all, Na not, Tvam you, Veta no, Parantapa, O subduer of the enemy. Translation by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The personality of Godhead said, many, many births both you and I have passed. I can remember all of them, but you cannot, O subduer of the enemy. Purport. In the Brahma Samhita 5.33, we have information of many, many incarnations of the Lord. It is stated there, Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navayavanam Cha Vedeshu Durlabham Adurlabham Atma Bhakto Govindamati Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda Krishna, who is the original person, absolute, infallible, without beginning. Although expanded into unlimited form, he is still the same original, the oldest, and the person always appearing as a fresh youth. Such eternal, blissful, all-knowing forms of the Lord are usually not understood by even the best Vedic scholars, but they are always manifest to pure, unalloyed devotees. It is also stated in Brahma Samhita 5.39, Ramadi Murti Shukala Niyamena Tishthan Nanavatara Akarot Bhavaneshu Kintu Krishna Swayam Sambhavavat Paramapumanyo Govindamati Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda Krishna, who is always situated in various incarnations, such as Rama, Nrsimha, and many sub-incarnations as well. But who is the original personality of Godhead, known as Krishna, and who incarnates personally also? In the Vedas also it is said that the Lord, although one without a second, manifests himself in innumerable forms. He is like the Vaidurya stone, which changes color yet still remains same. All those multi-forms are understood by the pure unalloyed devotees, but not by a simple study of the Vedas. Vedeshu durlabham adurlabham atma bhakta. Devotees like Arjuna are constant companions of the Lord, and whenever the Lord incarnates, the associate devotees also incarnate in order to serve the Lord in different capacities. Arjuna is one of these devotees, and in this verse, it is understood that some millions of years ago, when Lord Krishna spoke the Bhagavad-gita to sun god Vivashwan, Arjuna in a different capacity was also present. But the difference between the Lord and Arjuna is that Lord remembered the incidents, whereas Arjuna could not remember. That is the difference between the part and parcel living entity and the Supreme Lord. Although Arjuna is addressed herein as the mighty hero who could subdue the enemy, he is unable to recall what had happened in his past births. Therefore, a living entity, however great he may be in the material estimation, can never equal the Supreme Lord. Anyone who is a constant companion of the Lord is certainly a liberated person, but he cannot be equal to the Lord. The Lord is described in Brahma Samhita as infallible, Achyuta, which means that he never forgets himself, even though he is in material contact. Therefore, the Lord and the living entity can never be equal in all respects, even if the living entity is as liberated as Arjuna. Although Arjuna is a devotee of the Lord, he sometimes forgets the nature of the Lord, but by the divine grace, a devotee can at once understand the infallible condition of the Lord, whereas a non-devotee or a demon cannot understand this transcendental nature. Consequently, these descriptions in the Gita cannot be understood by demonic brains. Krishna remembered acts which were performed by him millions of years ago, but Arjuna could not, despite the fact that both Krishna and Arjuna are eternal in nature. We may also note herein that a living entity forgets everything due to his change of body, but the Lord remembers because he does not change his Satchidananda body. He is Advaita, which means there is no distinction between his body and himself. Everything in relation to him is spirit, whereas the conditioned soul is different from his material body. And because the Lord's body and the self are identical, his position is always different from that of the ordinary living entity, even when he descends to the material platform. The demons cannot adjust themselves to this transcendental nature of the Lord, which the Lord himself explains in the following verse. So we will do the following verse next week. But for now, let's focus on today's verse. So, Bahuni me vyatitani janmani tava Arjuna.
Is that,
Tane aham veda sarvani natam veda parantapa.
and then it's also at San.
So, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. So, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, personality of God. What is the Sanskrit for have passed?
Vyatitani.
Vyatitani, right? Vyatit, also those who are from a Hindi background know the word Vyatit. So, Vyatitani, right? And most of the words are there. What is for many when there is many, like in plural? Many?
Bahuni.
Bahuni. Bahuni, right? Okay. Bahuni. And what is the meaning of no? He has used the word no in many, couple of times.
Vitha.
Vitha, and what is the other one?
Na.
No.
No. Na is not about knowing.
Oh, knowing.
Mm-hmm.
Veda, Mataji, do know.
Veda, yeah, do know. Yeah.
Veta.
Veda and no, and Veda
Veta.
is do know. Yes, very good. Right? And then Tava, we know, is yours, Arjuna, right? Bahuni. So main thing is that, many births have passed. Both you and I have, passed, and I can remember all of them, but you cannot, O subduer of the enemy. So here,
Mataji, like it is a double T, so we need to put like Vitha or Vetha.
no, Veta. There is a ta there, and then there is a tha here. Yeah. So Veta. If you look at the
Yes.
Sanskrit look at the Devanagari script, you will see that there is, Bahuni Vetyatyan Vedam, Ve, Ta, and then Tha, right? This one Tha, and this is the Ta. Okay. Right. Yeah. So when we speak, it sometimes might sound like, we are just saying it, but it's a Vetha. Na tvam Vetha parantapa. So let's look at this word. So he's talking about, Krishna Bhagwan addresses Arjuna as what?
Parantapa.
Parantapa. And what's the meaning of Parantapa?
O subduer of the enemy.
Subduer of the enemies, right? So Arjuna, so Krishna addresses Arjuna by many words, right? Like that. So what are the other names that you think that he addresses Krishna in other verses that you might have, or even in this word?
Rita.
Sorry,
Rita.
Pritha. Pritha is whose name?
Yes. Krishna.
Whose name is Pritha? Who is Pritha?
Krishna.
The other name is Almighty Armed Arjuna.
Yeah, and what is the Sanskrit for that?
Mahabaho.
Mahabaho. Right. But back to Pritha. You have to tell me who's Pritha.
Krishna.
Come on.
Krishna?
Break your brains.
Krishna.
Pritha is Kunti.
Yes, mother of Arjuna.
Mother of
Pritha is Kunti. She's mother of Arjuna. And that is why Arjuna is called
Partha.
Partha. Yeah, Partha. So keep this in mind, Partha and Pritha. So there is a difference there, right? And later on, as we go further, we will also hear, of course, he addresses him as Arjuna also. He's addressing him here as Arjuna. Bharata Rishabha, Anagha,
Best of Bharat.
right?
Yeah.
Right, best of the Bharatas, Kapidhwaja. In the first chapter, we heard the word Kapidhwaja, which was that you are the
Flag. Hanuman in the flag.
you are the one who has a Hanuman, a kapi, or a monkey on his flag. It's because he was riding that chariot that was given to him by who was it? Who had given him the chariot? Okay, that's a homework for you. You have to find out who gave the chariot to Arjuna. Okay, Google and find out. Okay, so anyway, so Kapidhwaja. So you'll find out these names are, Krishna addresses these names, and every time that he addresses people by these names, he tries to emphasize certain thing to him, like And here in this verse, while we are talking about Arjuna, he's calling him as "O subduer of the enemy," and the reason for that is, we have just done the first 3 chapters of Bhagavad-gita where Arjuna said in the first chapter that he just sat down with holding his head and set aside his Gandiva. In second chapter, he became a little bit more vocal and he said, "I will not fight." Right. So now Krishna has got this responsibility to bring Arjuna to that consciousness that he fights. Right. So he's reminding him that you are subduer of the enemy. You'll be able to subdue the enemy. Right. So constantly encouraging Arjuna to do that. Right. So now what does the word, but in this verse he's saying, subduer of the enemy, but does he also address him by some other name in this verse? Should we look at the verse? Shall we?
Yes, Mataji. Otherwise, we have to open the book.
Okay, so you should always open the book, actually. Okay, devotional service is Anushilanam, you have to do. Okay, so, oh gosh, this is coming in front of me. Okay, yeah. So, Bahuni me vyatitani. Any other name that he addresses? What does he call him in the?
Oh, Arjuna.
Arjuna. He's also addressing him as Arjuna.
Arjuna.
Right? He's also addressing him as Arjun, right? So what does the word Arjun mean? Parantapa we said. is subduer of the enemy, right? But Arjuna here is just like, oh, Arjuna, right? But what does that word, Sanskrit word, Arjuna itself mean, right? So I just put together a simple slide deck here for you so that we can look at what, the word Arjuna means. So there are three parts to this word Arjuna. And the first part, A, is the letter A. And then the next part is Riju, right? R-J-U, Riju. And then Na means not having anything or devoid of, right? So then, A means, a letter A, then Ryu. But then if you look at Bhagavad-gita 10.33, and let me see if I can bring up Bhagavad-gita 10.33, then let's look what is Krishna saying in the 10.33 about the letter A. Okay, so here in 10.33, Krishna is the switched opulences of the absolute. So he says, Aksharanam akarusmi dvanda samaks samasi kasya cha aham vakshaya kalo dhataham vishvato mukhaha. So in the very first one, right? Very first sentence, what he's saying, of letters, I am the letter A. Right? So when there is a letter A there in our PowerPoint that we're looking at, so that letter A is saying that A in Arjuna actually stands for Krishna. Right? Because among all the letters, I am the letter A. Okay, so let's go back to our slide here. And right, so A means the Krishna. Okay, Riju means something who is very simple and straightforward. Something simple, you'll keep it simple, right? Now, Kali Yuga is very, very complicated, right? Everything in Kali Yuga has become complicated. Simple living, high thinking is not there. Our lives are so complicated, right? In the olden, because of industrialization, it's taken, everything has gone for a toss, right? So people used to live a simple life. They were doing agriculture, get up early in the morning, which is a good thing to do, and, finish off everything by sunset, and then spend some time. Everybody would gather around underneath a tree in a village, and they would listen to Krishna Katha, and then maybe have a glass of milk later on before going to bed and go to sleep, right? But now what do we do? Before going to bed, people might have a glass of something stronger than milk, right? So that's the way life is now. But Riju means something whose heart is very simple and whose heart is very straightforward and not cunning, right? So sometimes when Arjuna is described by the gopis, and when they are angry and when they are in separation, they also get angry at him, and then they will call him different kinds of names, and they will say, oh, Krishna, he's crooked and he's very cunning. How crooked and cunning is he? Oh, like the like the curls around his face, how the curls are so complicated and crooked. So he's as crooked as or sometimes they might say, oh, you're as straight as a curl, which is like, a sarcastic way of talking. So Arjuna is simple and straightforward. So in front of Krishna, Arjuna is someone who is simple and straightforward, and he is devoid. So what is he devoid of? So these meanings are explained by acharyas of the word Arjuna. So now means he's devoid of. So what is he devoid of? Everything other than the thoughts of Krishna, because he's a devotee of the Lord. So he has forgotten, and he has been put into this kind of a forgetfulness, so that the pastimes of Krishna can continue. But Krishna is saying that bahuni me, vyatitani janmani tavarjuna. So there have been many, many births that you and I have, spent together, right? But he doesn't remember that. Right? He doesn't remember that he's definitely a devotee of a very high caliber. He doesn't remember that. I'm a Kshatriya, I'm Arjun, I'm a Kaurava, I'm a Pandava. He's thinking about that, right? So Riju and Na. So Na is, you have to be devoid of all thoughts except those of Krishna. So this is a very, again, you see, it's a complicated way of saying this. One could have also said who thinks only about Krishna, right? So from this word itself, from the na, we are also understanding that, how you can also place things and explain things in a complicated way, right? Like, say this is not east. Well, then tell me just what it is. This is west, or this is north, this is south, right? Saying this is not east. So sometimes people complicate this in neither east nor north nor south. Okay, tell me clear that this is west, right? Like that. So here also, and we also read when we are talking about the when we were doing the pure devotional service of the Lord. So anya abhilashita shunyam. It starts with anya abhilashita shunyam. Shunyam means zero, devoid. Na, from this, right? From Arjuna. So anya abhilashita shunyam. You don't have any other desires. You are devoid of any desires other than desire for pleasing Krishna, right? So that's a style of saying. So similarly here also, the word Arjuna means that one who is simple in front of Krishna, very open and clean-hearted. And that is why sometimes you'll also find that the word Arjuna is also translated as white, because white represents purity. The color white represents purity. And when all the colors are mixed together, and when we hear about, in light, or even when you're painting, when you mix all the colors, what color do you get? In a paint, when you mix all the colors, red, blue, green, red, or you mix all of them, you'll get a black color, right? So simplicity is not too complicated, pure, nothing has been mixed. It's always mentioned as white. And if you notice that the chariot that is being drawn by Arjun in the Mahabharata war, that chariot also has got white horses. So white represents purity. Tata shveter harer tukte, right? Shvet is white and harer is horses, right? So Arjuna is somebody who is very simple, straightforward, pure when in front of Krishna, and who thinks of nothing except Krishna. So that is where the focus of Arjuna is, right? So let's go back to our verse here. So we have to understand that Krishna will use words and specific names to Arjuna to highlight some of his qualities. And so there's a lot of meaning to what God speaks. It's not straightforward there. Okay, so let's get back to our words here. Hare Krishna. So let's get back to our words here. And 4.5, right? So Shri Bhagavan Vacha, Bahumi me vyatitani janmani tava Arjuna, tane aham veda sarmani natum veda. So he says, I know of all of them. I know all of them and I do not, but you don't remember them. Okay, so now let's spend a little bit of time in this remembrance. So what are the things that you remember, that we remember? Don't remember anything?
Hare Krishna. Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji. Generally, we remember the very important incident happened in our lives, you see, and
Okay.
like to say, important incidents basically.
Okay, so that's one. Important incidents is one. And anybody else wants to say?
Yes, Mataji, we remember the pain, the heart.
The pain in the heart, we remember. Okay.
Yeah. Means we remember the good behavior as well as the bad behavior from others.
We remember good behavior and bad behavior from others. Okay.
But Shraddha Mataji, this is asking about remembering from the past births, that we don't remember anything from our past births, right?
We don't remember anything from past births.
Yeah.
My question was simple about what you remember. I did not clarify that. Yeah, I was just talking about that this birth, what do we remember?
Pain and suffering.
Pains and sufferings we remember. Okay. You don't remember pleasure?
Good and bad, we remember.
Yeah, so
Good and bad things, whatever.
Good and bad, we all remember that. Okay, and what do we forget?
Krishna.
That is the biggest forgetfulness. Very good.
And we forget this world is Dukhalayam.
We forget the fact that this world is Dukhalayam. Yes.
Very good.
We forget our suffering also.
You forget the sufferings also, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why we go back and do it again and again. Right? We forget the sufferings, okay? What else?
We do Prashchit one day, and the second day we do the same thing again. So we
We
repeat
do
the
the
same
same thing
thing
again. Okay.
Mm.
Okay. Right? And do we forget the good others did to you?
Yes.
Yeah, we do.
We do
Yes.
forget. We do
Right?
forget.
Yeah. So, yeah. So gratefulness, yeah. Lack of gratefulness comes from the fact that we forget.
Mm.
That we forget things, right? Yeah. So there are a lot of things that we remember, and the way that our memory operates. So there's short-term memory, and real short-term memory, and long-term memory is there, right? So short-term memory will be something that you will just remember just to do something over here, like that. Like sometimes the mom might just say that, okay, I have put potatoes over here, and when the water boils, just put the potatoes there. They are in the third drawer in the kitchen cabinet. So you won't remember it for a very long time because it's for a very short moment to do that, right? Nowadays, because of security reasons, whenever you go and try to access your bank account or even PayPal or something like that on your computer, it'll say, I've sent you a text, I've sent you a security code through text on your cell phone, right? Whatever device you have set up.
Yes.
And so there you go, like it's 369842. You just remember that as long enough so that you can type it on your computer, and boom, that's gone. You don't remember that, right?
Mm.
But one thing, Mother, is sometimes childhood things we still remember, but later age we forget right away.
Right,
So
right.
that difference is there too.
Right,
Childhood
right.
things we remember a lot, a lot of
Yeah,
them.
right. But it is said that when we die, at that time, your whole life passes in front of your eyes as a kaleidoscope, the whole life, everything. I don't know how fast that movie goes, right? But it passes in front of our eyes, right? So when we have got things, when we talk about memory, right? So one is that, we take it, then you have to store it, and then you have to retrieve it, right? If you just store it and you're not able to retrieve it, then it will be like, okay, so what was that verse? And you're like, yeah, I know.
Somewhere there.
Give me the first word, please. Right? So it is stored, but you're not able to retrieve that memory from there, right? And then, when things are repeated over and over again, they could also go into the long-term memory. There's also autobiographical memory, things which are pertaining to your life, your life events in your life. Sometimes we will never forget them. How old they are, no matter how old they get, they will always be there, right, for us. And from who does remembrance and forgetfulness come?
Krishna.
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 Verse.
Is the
15:15.
15.
Verse. Give me the verse.
Apohanam.
there is a new,
Go ahead, continue.
Apohanamscha.
Sarvasya
Sarvasya
chaham
chaham
hृदि सन्निविष्टो
Sarvasya
मता स्मृतिर्ज्ञानम्
Apohanam.
अपोहनम् वेदेषु
Vedeshu
सर्वैरहं
sarvaiरहं
वेदोऽभिधानतो
Vedanta Kirti
All right, how many of you have this memorized?
We all
thought I
together
did.
we did.
Garima
We all
and
together we
now
did.
it is
you all
Sort
were
of.
forgetfulness.
Huh?
Together we did.
Sukomal Radhe has it, Garima has it memorized, and who else?
Sort of. I thought I did, and then it kind of went
Yes.
out.
Mine not
It
fully.
went off. Okay, so this
Yes.
was just an exercise to demonstrate memory. And how it operates and how it works. Okay, so anyway, let's take some things from our scripture. Okay, Are people forgetting? I mean, are people forgetting right now? There's a verse right in front of us. Bahuni me vyatitani, Janma, he's saying to Arjuna that there are so many life words we have recorded. I remember it, but you don't. I know it, you don't, right? You have forgotten it. So that's one example, right? So let's take something from Srimad Bhagavatam. And let's see. Tell me, can you see?
No, yeah, no.
Okay. So this is a king Dushmanta, and sometimes he's also known by the word Dushyant. So once when King Dushmanta went to the forest to hunt and was very much fatigued, he approached the residence of Kanwa Muri. There he saw a most beautiful woman who looked exactly like the goddess of fortune and who sat there illuminating the entire ashram by her effulgence. The king was naturally attracted by her beauty, and therefore he approached her, accompanied by some of his soldiers, and spoke to her. Seeing the beautiful woman, the king was very much enlivened, and the fatigue of his hunting excursion was relieved. He was, of course, very much attracted because of lusty desires, and thus he inquired from her as follows in a joking mood. "O beautiful lotus-eyed woman, who are you? Whose daughter are you? What purpose do you have in this solitary forest? Why are you staying here? O most beautiful one, it appears to my mind that you must be the daughter of a Kshatriya. Because I belong to the Puru dynasty, my mind never endeavors to enjoy anything irreligiously." Shakuntala said, "I am the daughter of Vishwamitra. My mother, Menka, left me in the forest." Did you guys remember when the word Shakuntala came? Did you guys remember that this is that Shakuntala and Dushyant?
Yeah.
Okay. So Shakuntala said, "I'm the daughter of Vishwamitra. My mother, Menka, left me in the forest. O hero, the most powerful saint Kanva Muni knows all about this. Now let me know, how may I serve you? O king, with eyes like the petals of a lotus, kindly come sit down and accept whatever reception we can offer. We have a supply of Nivara rice that you may kindly take. And if you so desire, stay here without hesitation." King Dushmanta replied, "O Shakuntala, with beautiful eyebrows, you have taken your birth in the family of a great saint Vishwamitra, and your reception is quite worthy of your family. Aside from this, the daughters of a king generally select their own husbands." When Shakuntala responded to Maharaj Dushmanta's proposal with silence, the agreement was complete. Then the king, who knew the laws of marriage, immediately married her by chanting the Veda Pranama Omkara in accordance with the marriage ceremony as performed among the Gandharvas. King Dushmanta, who never discharged semen without a result, placed his semen at night in the womb of his queen Shakuntala, and in the morning he returned to his palace. Thereafter, in due course of time, Shakuntala gave birth to a son. So we'll just stop here, right? And go back and look at some of the things mentioned here. So when the king came, when King Dushmanta, who was in the forest, when he came into that hermitage, right, of Karma Muni, what was his physical condition? How was he feeling? He was tired, right? There was fatigue of his hunting excursion, right? And then what happens when he sees the woman? What happened to him?
His
He's
fatigue
attracted.
was,
Huh?
was attractive.
He has
He was
lust.
very attracted.
He has lust for her.
Fatigue went away.
The fatigue went
fatigue
away.
went.
Exactly right. The fatigue went away. So what did he do? He was hungry. There was fatigue. So he's tired and hungry. And he's tired, and his tiredness goes away. Now he has not rested. He has not eaten or drunk anything. He's not taking a shower. He has not laid down. Right? But he has forgotten his fatigue. So this is forgetfulness. So you see, these forgetfulness can come from extreme situations also, because now he's seen something pleasurable. Like you said, he got lusty desires. So when we see something, so there is forgetfulness can happen in extremes of situations also. So extremes of happiness, you are very you forget all the other things that you had. You forget all the other painful things that you had, and in this joy of, in this moment of pleasure or moment of happiness, you forget all the bad things that happened to you, right? And for example, when women give birth, that's the maximum pain that a human being can endure. And at that time, the woman might be saying, like, I don't think it was a good idea. And then when the baby grows up and starts to chuckle and smile and play and grows big and starts talking in a, like how kids will talk. And then it's like, oh, let me have one more of this. So you forget all that, right? Because right now you're focused on this. So forgetfulness can come from there. Forgetfulness can also come from extreme pain. And Radhesham Prabhu from Pune temple, he once came to ISKCON Silicon Valley, and he narrated, an interesting incident as to how, you might think that you're very powerful, but how something very tiny can really shake you up. So he said he was there in the morning class, and Bhagavatam class, so he sits down. He's the president of the temple, and he sat down, and then there was some tiny ant came into his dhoti and bit him. So started biting him. So obviously the ant bites, and then you will be like this, right? Little, but the ant kept on biting him so much so that he had to get up and leave and, change the clothes and come back. And he said that, when the ant started biting me, I was just doing this and that. I forgot that I was the temple president. Right? Similarly, we might also do, right? A lot of pain is happening, and, we are in a big position, but if the pain is too much, we won't even care. We could be walking on a footpath, and we'll just lay down flat on the footpath. Like, I'm just doubled from the pain. I cannot tolerate it. So people forget, right? So here in this situation, King Dushmanta, King Dushyanta, as you know him, he forgot as soon as he saw the beautiful lady, he forgot that, right? And then of course he married. So there were different ways in which people could get married. There were usually arranged marriages, but people also used to, select their own husbands. And not related to what we are talking, and not the topic of discussion for today, but I just wanted to point out, since you're looking at Shastras. And so here he's saying, oh, most beautiful one, it appears to my mind that you must be the daughter of a Kshatriya. Because I belong to the Puru dynasty, my mind never endeavors to enjoy anything irreligiously. So because King Dushyanta was a Raj Rishi, actually, was a Raj Rishi, but you see, even Raj Rishis can get overcome by beauty. And he's a Raj Rishi, so he knows religion and irreligion. So he knows that just because he's the king and there's a beautiful woman, he should not just have fun with her, right? He says, I don't want to enjoy anything irreligiously. But then he says, when she says that I'm the daughter of Vishwamitra, right? And which he knows is a famous sage there. But we also know that Vishwamitra was a Kshatriya. He was a Kshatriya king. And then later on, he becomes one of the Saptarishis and a Brahmana. But then in the beginning, he was very much a Kshatriya. So she is indeed the daughter of a Kshatriya. But then again, he says that, I'm happy to know that you have taken birth in the family of great Saint Vishwamitra. And then aside from this, the daughters of a king generally select their own husband. So he's hinting that, you have a choice. This was also a well-agreed way of getting married, selecting their own husbands. Can you give me examples of women who selected their own husbands from Shastra?
Sita,
Sita, very good.
Draupadi.
Draupadi.
Right? Yeah, so exactly, right? So when Shakuntala responded to silence, and silence sometimes is mentioned as
Rukmani.
Right. So when Shakuntala responded to Maharaj Dushmanta's proposal with silence, the agreement was complete, right? So sometimes, you have to speak up. Otherwise, if you don't say anything, it's considered to be an agreement. So then the king, who knew the laws of marriage, immediately married her. And this is what is known as a Gandharva marriage, Gandharva Vivaha, right? By the consent, and the Gandharvas get married like that, right? For the Gandharvas who live in the other higher planets. So then, of course, the king marries her, and then the king marries her. So then here it says the king Dushmanta, placed his semen at night in the womb of his queen. So you see, the moment he marries her, she becomes the queen. complete change, right? From being the daughter there in a hermitage, abandoned by her mother, she immediately by the husband, because of the husband, she gets elevated to that situation of that position of a queen. And now in the forest, Kanva Muni performed. Then thereafter, in due course of time, Shakuntala gave birth to her son. In the forest, Kanva Muni performed all the ritualistic ceremonies concerning the newborn child. So this means that Shakuntala was with her father, right? So now you get married to a woman, and then you go away, and you forget that you married her, right? So this is again forgetfulness on part of Maharaj Dushyanta. He forgets he married somebody, comes back home, right? So Shakuntala, the best of beautiful women, along with her son, whose strength was insurmountable and who was a partial expansion of the Supreme Godhead, approached her husband Dushmanta. Do you know what was the name of her son?
Bharat.
Bharat, right? And is he the same Bharat who became a deer in his next life?
No, Mataji.
No, this is a different Bharat, right? Okay, so India is also known as Bharatvarsh. So which Bharat is it? That verse or this verse?
This one.
Bharat or this Bharat?
No, Mataji, no, it is Bharat, the one who took birth as a deer. He
As a
was,
deer,
after
exactly.
yeah.
Yes, exactly. So before that, this whole India was known as Ilavrita Varsha. Ilavrita Varsha. And after that, when Bharat came, and then after that was known as Bharat Varsha, right? But that does not mean that this Bharat is not as good, right? This Bharat was also very valiant. And later on, the Kuru dynasty, Pandavas and the Kauravas, they come from this Bharat, the one that we're talking about, Shakuntala's son, Bharat, right? So then Shakuntala, the best of beautiful, along with the, approached her husband Dushmanta. When the king refused to accept his wife and son, again, he forgetfulness of that. So he had forgotten about that and he said he never married. An unembodied voice spoke from the sky as an omen and was heard by everyone present. The voice said, "Oh Maharaj Dushyanta, a son actually belongs to his father, whereas the mother is only a container like the skin of a bellows. According to Vedic injunction, the father is born as the son. Therefore, maintain your own son and do not insult Shakuntala." And this is a very important thing to remember. According to the Vedic injunctions, the father is born as a son, right? And we see in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, when the sages of Naimisharanya were seated and they were being, listening to Krishna Katha. And so Roma Harshan was, the saint or the teacher who was sitting on Vyasasana, and he was the one who was supposed to narrate the Bhagavatam to them, or whatever, some Krishna Katha he was supposed to narrate. And then Balram, who's an expansion of Lord Krishna, Balram walked in there. And because everybody stood up and gave respects to Balram, but because Roma Harshan was seated on a Vyasasana. When you are sitting on a Vyasasana, you generally don't get up for others because you're a teacher, right? You're at a higher position than the students. But if the student is Balram, Balram walks into your assembly, then you are supposed to offer your respects. And so Roma Harshan didn't do that. And so Balram was angry. And what Balram did was that he took a blade of grass, and with that blade of grass, he slit the throat of Roma Harshan and said, "You don't deserve to live. You don't deserve to teach if you don't even know this much of etiquette," right? So now, before the Krishna Katha had started, the Brahmana sitting over there had given the benediction to Roma Harshan, saying that, may you live a long life. And when Balram slit the throat, they are looking at Balram and is saying that, because Brahmanas, whatever the Brahmanas said always came truth, always happened, right? Because Brahmanas don't speak lies, right? So, so they were like, now what happens? We already gave him our benediction and you have come and slit his throat. Just a few minutes ago, we said you're going to live a long life. And that's when it was said that, because he has a son, right? The father lives through the son. And here also we are reading, according to Vedic injunction, the father is born as the son. So they said, okay, and who was the son? Any guesses? Who was the
Sutta
son?
Goswami.
Sutta Goswami, very right, for 500 points, right? Then Sutta Goswami sits there and he continues the narration of the Srimad Bhagavatam there. So according to Vedic injunctions, but anyway, I just wanted to bring this to your attention that about, how much time we have got this forgetfulness happening here, right? This forgetfulness. We are forgetting. And of course, as you pointed out, that Varshana Mataji pointed out, that we have forgotten Krishna. That's the biggest forgetfulness that we have, right? Remembrance. Now let's look at remembrance, right? So what are the things that we remember? And you talked about, life-changing incidents in our lives. We sometimes remember the bad things, sometimes remember the insults, and we are kind of waiting for the right thing to, right opportunity to appear, and then for us to give it back, right? And at that time, everything will come rushing. Every wrong thing that the other person do, yeah, you remember this, yeah, you remember that. The mind will do that, right? And the part of training of the mind is that, when the mind starts planting these things, you have to, give it a nice slap and say, no, I'm not going to listen to you. And so this purification, this Cheto Darpana Marjanam has to happen all the time. And when the mind is, which is like a wild horse, when the mind is suitably trained, that it'll only produce good thoughts for you, thoughts which are conducive to Krishna consciousness. Only when the mind does a thought like that has your mind become your friend. Up until that, your mind is your biggest enemy, right? And who is your biggest enemy? Your biggest enemy is the one who comes to you as your friend, who pretends to be your friend and guides you to hell, right? So the mind comes up and the mind will say, you know what, if you do this, there's going to be a lot of fun. That's what kids say, right? Let's go out on a weekend. Let's have fun. Friends say, let's go out to the resort in Yosemite. Let's have fun. Fun. So it's promising the fun, right? And similarly, the friend who said, let's smoke some ganja, right? Marijuana was promising some fun, but is he really your friend? No, he's your biggest enemy, right? So the one who poses as your friend and does things which will cause your ruination is not your friend. And unfortunate thing is that our mind is like that. Our mind is our worst enemy. And we have to turn this enemy into our friend. And you have to be a subduer of enemy. Who is a subduer of enemy? What other word you heard?
Parantapa.
Parantapa. Yes, in today's words, right? Parantapa, subduer of enemies. So all of us have to, become subduers of enemy. All of us have to become the Arjuna, right? And so number one, we have to be subduer of the enemy. I can be a subduer of an enemy. I can have my mind in complete control. I can do that. I can reach that state, devoid of Krishna. I can sit down and meditate and go to a trance where I don't think about anything. But that is not good. You have to replace your negative thoughts with positive thoughts. Krishna-less thoughts with Krishna-full thoughts. Like that, right? So that transformation has to happen. Okay, and then, so to do that, your mind has to become your friend, because then your friend will start, real friend, that your real friend will start giving you good advice. Like, let's get up. Today is Ekadashi. Let's stand an extra round. Like, why don't we read extra things? Let me do this. Let me give up this bad habit. Let me gossip less. Let me stop poking nose in other people's business. Let me not do this. Let me not do that. Like that, right? Constantly, the mind will keep on, it will be conditioned. So the mind, because of the original, problem that we have of being rebellious towards Krishna, we don't want to listen to Krishna. So originally there's something wrong with us. And then it gets worsened in the material world. The more we forget about Krishna, the more entangled we'll become in this life, right? And the more entangled we become in this life, then, we just go down and down and down like that. So we have to get out of this entanglement, right? Asanga shastrena dhirena chitva. So just get, try to cut this, sangha that we have with asanga shastrena. Use a weapon of detachment. We are very much attached. We could be attached to ourselves. We could be attached to our position. We could be attached to our fame, to the fact that I am something, or I know somebody big, like that. All those things, we have to get away from that, right? So Cheto Darpanam Arjuna, and the only thing that can cleanse all that is Krishna Katha. Right? And we have to do something about it, not just talking, as they say that, take a broom or a shoe and start beating the mind. We have to do it. You just can't stay back and, not do. You have to become Mahabahu. Right? So not only do we have to become a subduer of enemy, right, which is Parantapa, you also have to become Arjuna. And what was the meaning of Arjuna that I told you?
Parantapa?
Devoid of anything except
Devoid
thoughts
of
of Krishna.
And one more thing. How was his behavior towards Krishna?
Simple.
Simple and humble.
Simple and humble, no cunningness, right? And how will we practice this? How will we practice this fact that Krishna, I have to be humble and not be cunning with Krishna? I'm not having any dealings with Krishna, right? A day and night, I'm not having direct dealings with Krishna, right? So our starting ground and our practicing ground is to be not be cunning and be very simple when you're dealing with devotees around you. That's very, very important, because that is what is going to set the algorithms of your mind. And the way the algorithms of the mind are set, then mind and memory are not distinguished. So the way your algorithms are set, your memory will also be full of whatever you set the algorithm. You will choose to remember in your long-term memory. If you're thinking of nonsense, then in a long-term memory, all nonsense will be put. If you're thinking about good things, in long-term memory, also you'll have that. So it's really, what are you watering into your mind? What water are you putting? The same thing is going to get back to us, right? So we have to keep that in mind very much. That practice begins at home, where you are. Okay. So forgetfulness, we saw forgetfulness. Now let's look at remembrance. And so one of you said that, I think it was Sukomalade Mataji said, when I was asking, what do you remember and what you forget? And she said, well, this one was about the previous births, right? Previous birth, we don't remember anything, right? And it is kind of good that we don't remember, because if you remembered the previous births, tell me what would be the problem if you remembered all our previous births?
We will be
Suppose-
connected with the past people.
You will be?
Connected with the past life people.
Love people, right? Right.
We will be very much entangled, Mataji.
Even more entangled. as if the number that are presented in front of us in this life are not good enough, right? For example, if Sutapa remembers that I was her husband in her previous birth and I was giving her
That's
right? Or if I remember that I was a man, or it's very difficult for me to understand how I'm a woman here, right? Or I was very rich.
That's true.
I was very, very rich. Or you owned that bungalow. That's it.
We'll go to that.
It was mine.
Say that is my bungalow.
Yeah, it was my bungalow. It was my bungalow, right?
That's
Like
very
that.
good, that forgetfulness,
Forgetfulness
Otherwise,
is
it's very dangerous.
Yeah, forgetfulness is very, very dangerous, and you're saying a very nice word. And sometimes, so what do the devotees try to forget? The devotees will try to forget all the negative things about others, and they'll only focus on the positive things there, and try to live a very simple life and leave any cunningness or any those kind of things. Amani na manadena. Don't think about your respect, and respect everybody. And that is why in Krishna consciousness, or especially at ISKCON, you see, there are people who we address each other Matajis and Prabhujis, right? There could be a boy much younger than I am, and I'll say Prabhuji, right? Because we are operating at the level of a soul and not operating at a level. So if your young boy is in front of you and he's initiated and he's doing his, proper things, then he is a devotee of the Lord. He is a soul, and we should not mess up there, right? So that constant thing has to be inculcating into us, inculcated. And that is why Prabhupada gives us the do's and the don'ts, right? There are certain things you have to do and certain things you don't have to do, right? So what we try to forget is what are the bad things somebody did to us, and try to look only at the good. And the Mahatmas will do that. Mahatmas will do, okay, this person did bad things to me in the past. I will forgive, I will forgive, I will forgive, right? Krishna was forgiving Shishupal so many times. He said, right, I'll forgive you, I'll forgive you. Like that, Mahatmas. And then super Mahatmas, Su-Mahatmas. Su-Mahatmas are those that, not only will they not ignore the whatever bad that you have in you, they will try to see the future goodness that you're going to get. And that is why if somebody is chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, we don't say anything about them. They might be junior to us. They might be doing, whatever nonsense that they're doing. They might be doing that, but we see their future. And we see that, okay, fine, they're doing this, but, they're chanting. So this means that the chanting is going to have the effect on that person. So it is our faith in the holy name. By the way, it is a test of our faith of the holy name. That, when we see api chet su duracharo bhajte mam ananya bhak sadhureva samantavya samyak vyavasito hi saha chipram bhavati dharmatma sachvat shantim nighachati konteya pratijanehi name bhaktya pranashyati. So he says that, you see others doing su durachar, right? But if they are engaged in devotional service of some kind, you should have faith in the devotional service, that this devotional service is in the long term going to make them a perfect devotee of the Lord. I better hold my breath and my tongue. I should not criticize or say anything about them. So that humility. And we did that last time, that this is one verse that you should put in your necklace, all the words like that, and then wear it along your neck, so that we have to constantly remind ourselves over and over again, like that, right? Because mind is like that. Mind is waiting on the corner, your biggest enemy, ready to push you and pull you back into the material world. Okay. So now let's look at one more verse from the scriptures, and I'm going to start sharing my screen, and let me know when you're able to see this. I think we have done this before, but still we will do it. We did that a long time ago, so it doesn't harm to do a little bit of a recap. So this is from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 31st chapter, Lord Couple's instructions on the movement of the living entities. So what is a living entity? What's another word for living entity in English?
Jivas.
More popular. English. What is a living entity called in English?
Human? No.
Sorry?
Living beings. Living beings.
Soul?
Soul. Who said soul? You said
correct.
You said, yeah, that is correct. Yeah. So living entity is, because Prabhupada used the word living entity to say this is the one living, is always living.
Yes.
Never dies. The body might die, right? So living beings is constructed as the embodied living being, that there is a body there, right? So living beings can die. But living entity is the soul, it stays on forever. So there's a subtle difference between the two words, right? Living entity. So soul, as people use, is the living entity. So movements of the living entity. So what are the movements? Where do you think this living entity is moving?
Body to
From
body?
one body to another.
Body to body, exactly, right? And which is also called transmigration of the soul. Okay? All right. So the personality of Godhead said, for personality of Godhead is Lord Kapildev in his incarnation. And we read in our verse from today, Nana Avataram Akarot, right? It says that he comes in Nana Avatar. So one of the avatars that of Krishna is, he comes as Lord Kapildev, who is the son of Kardamuni and Devahuti. So the personality of Godhead said, under the supervision of the Supreme Lord and according to the result of his work, the living entity, the soul, is made to enter into the womb of a woman through the particle of male semen to assume a particular type of body. Right? So in a previous verse, when we were hearing about King Dushmanta, who never discharged semen in vain, right? So that night when he's with his queen, the queen gets pregnant and he has a son, right? So we might think, oh, Dushyanta is so extremely powerful and what a man, right? Like that. But this verse kind of, topples all that theory down. And if you go and look inside this particular verse, this is saying, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Karmana Daiva Nitrena Jantu Deho Papatyate Sriya Praveshta Udaram Pumso Reta Kanashrayaha. So Sri Bhagwan Uvacha, so Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Karmana, by the result of work, Devena Netrena, under the supervision of the Lord, Jantuhu, the living entity, Deha, a body, Upapatyate, for obtaining, Striya, of a woman, Pravishta, enters, Udaram, the womb, Pumsaha, of a man, Retaha, of semen, Kana, a particle, Ashraya, dwelling in. So what he's saying is that under the supervision of Supreme Lord and according to the result of his work, the living entity, the soul, is made to enter into the womb of a woman through the particle of male semen to assume a particular type of body. So what I wanted to emphasize over here is that even one might think that, that a living entity is made to enter into the womb of a woman through the particle of male semen, right? And will assume a particular type of body. Whatever type of body the mother has, the soul will have to take that body, right? You enter into a dog's womb, then you'll come out a dog. You cannot come out a cat if you're in the womb of a doggy, right? Like that. So you come out like that. So then, okay, then we go a little further. But then why did that person why did that living entity enter into the womb of a female like a cat, right? Why? According to the result of his work. Whatever his karma was, according to that happened, right? But that is not all enough. All that happens under the supervision of the Supreme Lord. This is very, very important thing, right? So Dushmanta, Dushyanta, they just cannot have babies left, right, and center. It happens Upadrashta, Anumanta, only under the supervision of the Lord. Daiva Netrena, under his eyes. Netrena means under his eyes, like supervision, vision, and then supervision coming from the top, like that. On the first night, the sperm and the ovum mix, and on the 5th night, the mixture ferments into a bubble. On the 10th night, it develops into a form like a plum, and after that, it gradually turns into a lump of flesh or an egg, as the case may be. In the course of a month, the head is formed, and at the end of 2 months, the hands, feet, and other limbs take shape. By the end of 3 months, the nails, fingers, toes, body, hair, bones, and skin appear, as do the organ of generation and other apertures in the body, namely the eyes, nostrils, ears, mouth, and anus. Within 4 months from the date of conception, the 7 essential ingredients of the body, namely chyle, blood, flesh, fat, bone marrow, and semen, come into existence. At the end of 5 months, hunger and thirst make themselves felt, and at the end of 6 months, the fetus, enclosed by the amnion, begins to move on the right side of the abdomen. Deriving its nutrition from the food and drink taken by the mother, the fetus grows and remains in that abominable residence of stools and urine, which is a breeding place of all kinds of worms. Bitten again and again all over the body by the hungry worms in the abdomen itself, the child suffers terrible agony because of his tenderness. He thus becomes unconscious moment after moment because of the terrible condition. Owing to the mother's eating bitter, pungent foodstuffs or food which is too salty or too sour, the body of the child incessantly suffers pain which are almost intolerable. Placed within the amnion and covered outside by the intestines, the child remains lying on one side of the abdomen, his head turned towards his belly and his back and neck arched like a bow. The child thus remains just like a bird in a cage without freedom of movement. At that time, if the child is fortunate, he can remember all the troubles of his past 100 births. And he grieves wretchedly. What is the possibility of peace of mind in that condition? Thus endowed with the development of consciousness from the 7th month after his conception, the child is tossed down by the airs that press the embryo during the weeks preceding delivery. Like the worms born of the same filthy abdominal cavity, he cannot remain in one place. The living entity in this frightful condition of life, bound by 7 layers of material ingredients, prays with folded hands, appealing to the Lord who has put him in that condition. The human soul says, I take shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who appears in his various eternal forms and walks on the surface of the world. I take shelter of him only because he can give me relief from all fear, and from him I have received this condition of life, which is just befitting my impious activities. I, the pure soul, appearing now bound by my activities, am lying in the womb of my mother by the arrangement of Maya. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him who is also here with me, but who is unaffected and changeless. He is unlimited, but he is perceived in the repentant heart. To him I offer my respectful obeisances. I am separated from the Supreme Lord because of my being in this material body, which is made of 5 elements, and therefore my qualities and senses are being misused. Although I'm essentially spiritual, because of Supreme Personality of Godhead, because the Supreme Personality of Godhead is transcendental to material nature and living entities, because he is devoid of such a material body, and because he is always glorious in his spiritual qualities, I offer my obeisances unto him. The human soul further prays. The living entity is put under the condition of material nature and continues a hard struggle for existence on the path of repeated birth and death. This conditional life is due to his forgetfulness of his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, without the Lord's mercy, how can he again engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord? No one other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as the localized Paramatma, the partial representation of the Lord, is directing all inanimate and animate objects. He is present in the 3 phases of time, past, present, and future. Therefore, the conditioned soul is engaged in different activities by his direction. And in order to get free from the threefold miseries of his conditional life, we have to surrender unto him only. Fallen into a pool of blood, stool, and urine from within the abdomen of his mother, his own body scorched by the mother's gastric fire, the embodied soul, anxious to get out, counts his months and prays, "Oh my Lord, when shall I, a wretched soul, be released from this confinement? My dear Lord, by a causeless mercy, I am awakened to consciousness, although I am only 10 months old. For this causeless mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the friend of all fallen souls, there is no way to express my gratitude but to pray with folded hands." The living entity in any other type of body, like non-human body, sees only by instinct. He knows only the agreeable and disagreeable sense perceptions of that particular body. But I have a body in which I can control my senses and I can understand my destination. Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by whom I have been blessed with this body and by whose grace I can see him within and without. Therefore, my Lord, although I'm living in a terrible condition, I do not wish to depart from my mother's abdomen to fall again into the blind well of materialistic life. Who else did not want to leave the mother's womb?
Vyasdev. No, Mataji, 1 minute. Shukdev Goswami.
Sukadev Goswami. Your external energy called Devamaya at once captures a newly born child and immediately false identification, which is the beginning of the cycle of continuous birth and death, begins. So like Vaisheshika Prabhu says, as soon as he comes out, the parents say, "You are Shniki," and that's it. From that point onwards, now let's see what Shniki is going to do. The 10-old living entity has desires even while in the womb, but while he thus extols the Lord, the wind that helps parturition propels him forth with his face downward so that he may be born, right? The child comes out with great trouble, head down, breathless, and deprived of memory due to severe agony. So you can also, because of that severe agony, he forgets everything that he remembered, right? And then he loses his superior knowledge and cries under the spell of Maya. Want to go back into a womb again?
Never. Mataji, one question comes to my mind after reading this. The semen of a man goes into the womb of a mother. These days, you see, they are artificially, putting the semen into the female. Now, just by chance, you said that if the, dog, which will give birth to the she dog will give birth to the dog only. Which the child will get the body of a dog only. But if by chance the doctor, while operating, while putting the semen, he puts the semen into the different body, then even then the mother will give the birth of her own body, mother.
No.
Semen has no.
Yeah, but then some semens can be effective. For example, the mule. The mule is a cross between, a donkey and a jackass, or a horse and a jackass. So some cases, so it's really the It takes the shape of the mother's body. That's why it doesn't come out as the mule doesn't look like a horse. It looks more like a donkey. Right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And all that happens under Devanetrena. Daivanetrena. It happens under the instructions of the Lord. So that is why not all test tube babies are successfully born. Right? So it will only be born when the Lord has given the consent. And that's the part that we miss. And as soon as we miss that part, that's when the doctors start thinking that they are God.
Right.
Like that there. Yeah.
I hope doctors don't
plants
put the
also they
semen
do
of a man into the dog. You see, it will be very difficult. You see, what will come out?
affiliate, they're showing that some goat has given some baby birth or something like, whether they're genuine or not. Affiliate, they are showing that some of things. But plants also, they do like that, Mataji. Two types of plants, if they put together, and that color comes, the flower color comes different. So that is there, and that is nature. I don't know.
Wait,
How
Mataji,
Krishna-
what was Varchana Mataji's question? Was she asking if you could crossbreed between animal and human? Is that what she was asking? But that's not possible.
Can-
Though. I mean, that's not like medically or genetically possible because the body would reject it. The human body would not accept the something from a different species. They already tried it, I think, and it's not possible. I mean, maybe it'll be possible in the future when they alter many things and they when they take out many chromosomes and things like that, like they tried for the pig's heart that recently somebody died from. But so far, it's not been possible, and it's not possible because even when somebody tries to, when people who are let me not say perverts, but people who malfunction and they try to have sex with an animal or something, they're not able to conceive because the body will not accept it because it's a different, I don't know the scientific details, but it's a different chromosomal makeup. So the body will not accept it. So it's not physically possible.
Okay. Thank you, Arunmi Mataji, for clarifying my doubt.
Sutaba has raised her hand.
Mataji, the few days, like 2 days ago, I watched the news, like in the war zone, there was a pregnant woman, and I think she is like 9 months pregnant, and she is about to give birth, but she died. So in that case, Mataji, like the soul of the baby who was inside her womb did not get the permission from Krishna to take the birth, because means how we can see in that
Who died in this case? The child died or the mother died?
no, the mother died.
Okay.
Means and the baby was inside, and from
So
the
baby also died. How about babies?
Yes, Mataji, because
Yeah.
it's a war zone. No, what's happening now?
Right,
So
right. So two things I hear. The verse that we were talking about, that Karmena Devanetrena, right? So that particular verse is talking about the conception itself. When the sperm and the ovum are combining and a child is being formed, right? It said in the beginning, it's like a bubble and ferments, third night, fourth night, like that, right? So Devanetrena, we are talking about that part. Having said that, Devanetrena is there all along. Sometimes fetus will die even if the mother stays alive. You do not know, right? Mother would have not done anything and still the child inside the womb is never gets born, dies inside the womb, right? So, and we see instances of that. Not only that, Mahabharata actually starts with that, right? Ganga killing her sons, right? So when a soul takes a human birth, enters into a womb, and then doesn't live for long. It could be anything. Doesn't live for 5 years or 4 years or 1 year, or is born at death, or is born or dies inside the womb. Remember there was also one factor, according to his work, according to his karma, right? So that child only had that much of karma.
yes.
And we don't know that you will be a human being for this much of time. Now, what happened in the next life for that particular soul, we don't know. The soul maybe went and to a higher planet, became a Gandharva. We don't know. We don't know about that, right? But we have to remember that everything, all this is happening. So there are so many factors. That one was it is happening under the supervision of the Lord. Second is the material thing is definitely there. The ovum and the sperm is there. But then there is also the work of the living entity. And of course, the living entity has to be there. Like that. So even when people take a sperm and they take a egg, and so there has to be a soul inside that sperm. Not all sperms will have a soul like that. And even if it is there, whether it will become a child or not, Devanetana, permission of the Lord is there.
Yes.
It might happen quite a few times, but not necessarily 100% guaranteed like that. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mataji.
Their past karma also helps, is it right?
The work, yeah, that's what it says, karma. Right. So there are so many things that happen during the birth. So I just wanted to mention here that they forget, and that's what Krishna is telling Arjuna today. Right?
When
they
are in the womb, they will say, "No, I will pray for you, and let me get out of this." Like that, everything. And that time they will remember everything. And then when they comes out, oh God, that's how they forget everything. And then
it says because of the agony. Yeah, it said that, right? You read it, right? Because of the agony is very strong agony, you forget everything.
Yeah, distress.
We all, even afterwards also, Mataji, when we have difficulties, we say, Krishna, whatever you do, I will surrender to you, this, that. Once the difficulty is over, I think human beings, they forget sometimes.
Yes, most of the time.
Sometimes, most of the time.
That's what I feel.
Yeah. Most of the times they will forget. Yeah.
And Krishna will play with us, that giving that Maya will come and then she will try. What you will do. You will get out of this.
It was only Sut Goswami who remembered.
Yeah, he's the only one.
Sukhdev Goswami. Yeah, Sadhana Mataji has raised her hand. Sadhana Mataji.
Yeah, just instead of, I was talking about the times when you said we actually remembered. One time was in the womb and the other time is during a death. And so that is...
at the death, you remember that? No, at the time of death, you remember this life.
Yeah,
this life
not past
as a
lives,
kaleidoscope, right? And in the womb, if it is fortunate, we'll remember 100 previous ones.
Yeah. So what are the triggers for it? Like agony helps to, it's kind of a prompt for forgetfulness. What kind of causes remembrance then of these things? Like, was there a
I was going to ask that question. I was going to ask that question, and I was going to ask the question a slightly different way. So, how do you memorize, right? How do you strengthen your memory?
Repetitive.
Why do people's memory fail? Why do you think?
Keep on doing. Keep on doing.
Just repeat. Yeah, repeat. Practice.
Repeat. Practice is very important. Also, good nutrition and good sleep. Sleep is also very important, right? And it's amazing that the figures on memory are extremely like they're that after 2 hours you forget a large percentage of what you said. Within a week you forget 75% of what was told to you.
I'll forget in 2 minutes,
right? Like that. Yeah, 2 minutes and you forget. So people forget because mind is preoccupied, right? You can also have loss of memory because of some drugs have got the effect on you. Some drugs cause memory loss, right? Alzheimer's disease can cause memory loss to you, right? And we can also feign memory loss. I don't remember. You very well remember. Yeah. So I was going to ask a question that, what can we do so that we remember Krishna?
Just keep on chanting every day. And then telling his name and what his pastimes, thinking of those, then we'll remember. But we put in the center Krishna, put Krishna in the center and think everything. This is I'm doing for Krishna, I'm cooking for Krishna.
Good.
Devotional service.
Devotional service. Okay.
We'll remember.
Mataji, association of the devotees is very important.
Very important. Exactly right. I was waiting for that answer. For example, when you are saying, I will do things on my own, you chant. You keep Krishna in the center. Okay, today, forgot. Tomorrow is Ekadashi, forgot. Got sucked into this, forgot, did not finish my 16 rounds.
No, Kathy Mataji will remind.
Forgot, got busy, forgot. But then if you're in the association of devotee, you'll see the other person is just sitting and he's got a bead bag around his neck. Then you will remember.
So
Then you
Sadhu
will remember. So
Sangha,
association is very, very important to strengthen your
Sadhu
devotion.
Sangha association with Kathy
Sadhana.
Mataji. You will remember.
Absolutely. Very,
Mataji,
very important.
when I was reading about Bharat Maharaj, and he, I mean, he had to take the body of a deer. I was just thinking how sad it is, Mataji, after renouncing everything, and he came and he worked so hard. I wish there was somebody to remind him. So how this is how the association is so important.
That
He would
particular
have
two things, exactly two things in that story, very, very important to remember. The first is he was doing things on his own. He had no devotee association, right?
Yeah.
Somebody, nobody there with him to tell, hey, buddy, what are you doing? You know, you have rounds to finish and you are here. No, you have to meditate, but there's no rounds in that yoga. You have to meditate and you are hunting kusa grass for this little, deer. So one was that. Second was that he had that thing about that I am the controller. So you said that he gave up everything. And this is the understanding for us to take, is that we might think that we have given everything away, right?
Really?
But we don't. He was remember, he was the emperor of this entire world, the 9 continents. He was ruling all of them. And so obviously you're a controller, you're controlling this. Every people are asking, you are giving orders, you're, setting the guidelines, rules, regulations, and all that. And then he renounces everything. But then, when the deer's mother, she jumped over that stream and she miscarried. She went into a cave and there she gives birth and there she dies, and he's watching everything. And so in a forest, how many times does a lion roar? Many times. How many deer are there? Many of them. How many would be pregnant? Quite a few of them, right? So, and miscarriages will happen. Yes, they will happen. So who's taking care of all that? We have to remember that Krishna takes care of the children. There's a very interesting story where somebody said, that there was a lizard. Gory story. Lizard gave birth to, a child. Lizard had a small, tiny baby, lizard. And the mother died. And there was this person asking his guru and saying that, oh, now this is died. Now the mother used to catch insects and then give to this little, drop it in front of the little lizard, and little lizard will eat it. Now the mother has gone, how will this child eat? How will the child survive? And even before the student could finish his question, this little lizard, opened the mouth and caught a fly. So, we think that the mother is dead, and, so there is God who takes care of all these things. So, but King Bharat took these things in his hands. So sometimes it's very important for us to stay away, not like Bharat Maharaj, poke your nose into everything. Because we might think that we are controllers and we will solve this, Certain things are not solvable. Certain things, they have to go through it. Just let it be.
But one thing, if somebody, like human being, something happens, some accident or something happens, that person is lying on a road straight, and then passing by, like another human being and passing by, would they leave them like that?
No. And a good question. We might think that, I'm young and strong, and this person has been hit in an accident and is lying bleeding, and I might lift that person and then, then dial 911, call somebody, they come, and then they said, you know what, you shouldn't have lifted the patient. You should have let the patient stay there, because now you caused injuries to the spine of the patient. So if it is not your area, don't poke your nose.
Don't poke your nose.
That is the message.
I have to at least call the rescue people and then make sure that he be rescued.
Yes, that you have to do. Bharat, yes, King Bharat could have done something like that, but he left his main duty. His duty in that ashram was to do that, right? So this story is telling us so many. There are forests. There'll be so many other ashrams and rishis and things like that, right? When he went out to get the kusha grass, or when he went out to look for him when he did not return, I'm pretty sure he would have seen more ashrams on the way. He could have just said, can one of you please take care of it? Delegate. You don't have to do all the things yourself. But his mentality there was this, I will control. If I am not, he used to worry. When I am dead, who's going to take care of this one?
But one way saving a person is God has given me strength, and I would like to save that person.
Yes, save the person. Only if you're qualified. Are you qualified to save the person?
As spur of the moment, no, I may not be thinking that I want to see that person will be saved. I may not think that I'm qualified or something, and I have
You have to think. That is what I'm saying. You have to think. You have to think before you do things. It is very important. There has to be a gap between when you hear something, you have to process it, and then you have to do something. And speak or do whatever, raise your hand or cut or join or whatever you do. You have to do it. You have to think. Thinking is very, very important. Doing things without thinking is very dangerous, actually.
Mataji, I have to leave.
There you go.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for joining. Yeah.
Thank you, Mataji. Hari Bol, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
What happens if we say we cannot leave? Sutapaji, Mataji. If we
Sorry,
say that we
Mataji, I
cannot
did
leave,
not get your question. Can you please repeat?
what happens if we all say that you cannot leave?
Nothing will happen.
Even then you will leave. Is that right?
Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Because you see, Sutapa in the beginning itself had already given the decision. She had already given the results, right? She said, I'm leaving.
I joined late.
She did not say that may I leave.
May I leave?
There's a difference between that, right? Saying that may I leave is you're leaving that decision to the other party. And if the other party then says no, or no, wait, then you should wait. So you have to be very careful of the statements that you speak.
Okay, Mataji.
She already said that I'm leaving, and I said, okay, fine. Right?
Anyway, I came late. I'm sorry. I was listening to.
And when you come late, you don't have to apologize in the middle of the class. You don't have to wish me. You don't have to do anything.
I said this one only.
My thought
I said
process.
like this. That's all.
Yeah, and in the end, doing is good. Yeah, I'm just saying. Yeah.
Yes, Mataji. I was listening to Maharaj's class.
Good, very good. There's more tomorrow.
For both of their class, both of them were there.
Wow, yeah.
But I jumped in again from there to here. There are 87 people are there.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, I'll attend it tomorrow.
Me too.
Because if I came and told you I'm going to cancel this class, then you would have been at me.
Yeah. We would have.
Tomorrow what time, Mataji? Tomorrow what time?
8:30.
8:30 to 10.
Morning 8:30 to 10.
And tomorrow is daylight saving starts.
We have Kirtan in the temple tomorrow.
Fine, so then that's fine.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't know. Vaishana Mataji raised her hand and left. I don't know.
No, I come. No.
With the old hand or a new hand?
Old hand.
No, now only, Mataji.
Okay.
I had raised. Mataji, we were talking about the saving. One patient came. She had COVID, and you see, when Anuj dealt with that case, and of course that lady passed away, and she was pregnant, and she was in 7th month, and immediately he said, the best way is let's take out the baby first, and then let's see what happens. And they saved the child, Mataji, and of course she died. This was, of course, last year, Mataji. So if I was just thinking, as you said, that sanction of the God. So it is really a sanction of the God that the child had to live without mother, and this is how the child got birth, and the mother passed away.
Yeah.
So I really feel very surprised how he does things he only knows.
So 7th month also the child would have formed fully, 7th month. That's also another thing. And God's wish is that.
Meera Mataji has a question. Meera Mataji, go ahead.
Oh, Hare Krishna. I came in very late today too, so I didn't hear. I'll have to go and listen to it again. But I was able to hear the part of how bad it is for the soul to be in the womb So knowing that we are conscious of how bad it is, we don't remember. I guess for us, I'm old, but if I was young and I knew that, I would say I don't want a baby. I don't want any suffering like that. So then a lot of people won't. If a lot of people knew this to this extent, there won't be population like this.
Even then, Mataji, if Krishna wants, somehow or other accidentally will have the baby.
Yeah, so and this is a question people often ask. People often ask that, if everybody starts being good and, everybody becomes some Mahatma. And this was a problem that Brahma faced in the beginning. When he created the Prajapatis in the Kashyap Munis and all that, they were souls who were like, okay, fine, once in a while I'll have a child. But, right now I have to go focus on Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he was troubled by that. And then he brought a soul of that mentality, Manu. Right? Who would agree?
Manu.
So it depends on the consciousness of the soul. And God says that anytime, there will be some people like that. Not everybody is going to become good. And we know it's statistically speaking also, right? So if you start making chapatis, not all chapatis will be the same shape or size, right? No matter how hard you try, some might be, here and there. So similarly here with the soul also, there will always be somebody like that. There are plenty of souls, and the number of souls are also increasing in number. So like how you were saying that Krishna will make it happen, not even by accident, but Krishna will have souls like that, and souls are falling down, they're going back up, some more, falling like that. And Krishna is expanding, so more souls are being created. And again, they are put to the test, and 1/4 always fall down, approximately. So that's going to happen. So that will be a very happy problem, actually, if that happens, that nobody wants to have children. Yeah, which we are facing, but not because of the reason that everybody has now understood that womb is such a painful place that they are now saying that we won't have kids. They don't want to have kids because they want to make more money, right? So single income, double income, and no kid, or double income, single kid, like this girl, thing like that. So
some people go for forced abortions too.
Yeah.
That's also another thing.
Yeah. Okay, any more questions? Any more hands raised? If not, then we have.
Sorry, Mataji, I entered late, Mataji. This today my Wi-Fi is really troubling, Mataji. It comes, goes, comes, goes.
Oh, okay. I hope it stays. Yeah.
Luckily, during this period, I was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. Take care, everybody. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhyeva patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hari Hari Bol.
Thank you, Shraddha Mataji.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It is
Thank
now,
you so much, Mataji.
Are we meeting in the morning 6:30?
Thank you, everybody.
Yes, we will meet morning 6:30, and it will be the new 6:30, right? The time is changing. So tomorrow we all get up an hour early.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for asking
Mataji,
that
for me, what will be the time, Mataji, please?
Whatever it is right now, it will be 1 hour early.
1 hour early.
Yeah. Every time that you come, right? Every Sunday that you come, whatever time you come, just make it an hour early. Okay?
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Alrighty, Hare
Thank
Krishna,
you.
Danda Pranams. Take care, and
Hare Krishna.
daylight savings, and we'll enjoy that. Hare Krishna, Hari Bol,
Hare
Danda
Krishna.
Pranams, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha
Hare Krishna.
kripasindhubhyeva patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo